Good morning and welcome. I'm Grace Greger, a member of the trustees. We're the folks who look after the buildings and other assets. We're so glad that you're with us today, online if you can't be here, or in person in this beautiful sanctuary for our wonderful service. Special welcome to visitors. If you're visiting us today for the first time, welcome. If you've come back a second time, welcome again. If you'd like to learn more about the church, please talk to Reverend May after church or talk to me and we'll direct you to someone. Those of you online who are interested in learning more about the church, I ask you to go to firstchurchorg.com and then come and visit us. So coming up, coffee hour will be immediately after the church service. Today we have a few special announcements. They are coming up this Wednesday. It's in your order of service, but these are important because it is this coming week. On Wednesday, the 30th at 6 p.m., we'll have a meal and an open mic on the monthly theme of faithfulness. On Thursday, Halloween, we are once again doing our special Halloween at First Church to help share in the festivities on Marlborough Street. You can come in costume, I recommend, because it's much more fun in costume. From 5 to 8, we'll be giving out candy, and I hope that some of you can join us. I did it last year, and I promise you it's fun. If it's cold, make sure you bring a jacket or a vest with you. In the order of service, there are a few more announcements we urge you to look at, but please pay attention to the ones that are coming up this week. We'd love to have you join us for one or both of them. And now the service begins. Yes.
Good morning. I am Lindsay Donnelly Bullington. I use she and her pronouns, and I'm so glad that you are here so that we can worship together. Our worship is a ritual container to hold us in community as we make meaning of our time. The last week, the last month, even just this morning, and to prepare us for the next month, the next week, the next hour. We gather in a time of much ritual, in advance of the Celtic recognition of Samhain, the Mexican recognition of Day of the Dead, in advance of the beginning of Diwali, even looking towards the rituals of pumpkin carving and trick-or-treating on Halloween. So we gather here for worship, a ritual made up of many ritual parts. Please rise as you are able in body or in spirit, and join me by reading the words printed in your order of service for two sacred rituals, the lighting of our flaming chalice and the lighting of our oil lamps in recognition of Diwali as we mark our time as sacred. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please take a moment to greet one another, taking a special moment to wave to the folks online.
I am super excited today that in recognition, you may be seated, we're going to do it a little different today. I know ritual means that you get used to doing things in the same way sometimes, and today we're changing the order a little bit because what I wanted to introduce is a time in the service where we honor multi-faith inspirations as part of our broad Unitarian Universalist understanding that people find religious and spiritual meaning in many different traditions. And so today we want to highlight the start of Diwali later this week, and I am deeply grateful to Geeta Rao and also her husband Bhaskar Chakravarti as they come and tell you a bit about Diwali.
Thank you, Reverend May. Good morning, everyone. My name is Geeta Rao, and I joined this UU congregation in March this year. Reverend May reached out to me a few weeks ago to ask myself and my husband Bhaskar to talk about Diwali, which is the Indian festival that is actually on Halloween this year. It's according to the Hindu calendar, so it changes every year. And it's on October 31st. And it'll be celebrated by billions of people around the world. So a quick recap, the word Diwali is derived from Deepavali, which in Sanskrit means a row of lights. So how many of you here have been to India? That's a lot of people, okay. And who knows someone from India? Oh, pretty much everybody, huh? Okay. Well, India is a subcontinent, as you know, and it's mind-blowing in its diversity. There are 22 major languages, and 234 recognized mother tongues. We have here with us today in person our friends Renuka and Ashish, who are from Kashmir and Punjab, and Rita and Ramesh, who are from Punjab and Sindh, which is now in Pakistan. My husband Bhaskar is from Bengal in eastern India, and I myself am from Bangalore, which is in the south of India. All of us speak entirely different languages, different scripts, and our cuisines are totally different. I was raised like an Orthodox Jew, and he was raised as a natural carnivore. I think that's the right word for it, right? Our lingua franca is English, the language of our colonizers. So this diversity is reflected in the way that we celebrate Diwali. In North India, it's the return of King Ram and his wife Sita and her brother Lakshman to Ayodhya after defeating the demon king Ravana. And there is a puja, which is a religious celebration of Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity. In South India, Diwali celebrates the destruction of a demon Naraka by Krishna, who's an incarnation of Vishnu. In East India, it coincides with Kali Puja, that is, Durga exercising her muscle and might. I mean, it is truly mind-boggling. What binds us all is the joy of Diwali. If you know Indian people and you've been to India, you know a lot of it is about food. So food, meeting friends, family, eating sweets, firecrackers, things that blow up, basically. So I wanted to share a little bit about, the arc of Diwali in my own life. I grew up in New Delhi in the north of India in a large family. There were 4 children, my parents, and my great uncle, who was like our second father. My parents were very religious, but in different ways. My mother prayed formally twice a day, fasted a few times a week, and did puja, lengthy religious ceremonies for a host of festivals. My father went to the temple at least once a week, and he would participate in the pujas as well. I wrote to my beloved siblings yesterday, Manu, Nalini, Ashok, who are on YouTube, asking what their memories were of Diwali. And I was surprised by the consistency of our remembrances. We would be woken up before dawn by my mother, have oil massaged into our scalps, sit cross-legged in a row on the floor. My hips are grateful for that to this day. Recite shlokas, Hindu verses, and eat a laddu, which we've brought, by the way. Delicious sweet, light a lamp, and Diwali would have begun. We were middle class, and we really looked forward to getting new clothes on Diwali, one of the few occasions in the year when we would have new clothes. Otherwise, it was always hand-me-downs. My mother would make an array of festive foods and sweets. Schools would be closed, so no homework. In the evening, our apartment, would be lit with clay lamps called diyas. We would burst fireworks, eat sweets and savories, and visit friends' homes to repeat. The entire city was lit up, and there was just so much excitement, joy, fun. Now, fast forward to the 1980s when we had come to the US for graduate school. We moved a lot for school and work. New York City, upstate New York, Illinois, New Jersey, and finally Boston. To this day, I have had no Indians in my workplace. Diwali was just another working day, like any other. We had very few Indian friends. My siblings and my extended family were scattered across the world, in India, in Philadelphia, in DC, London, Africa. After our son Tarit and daughter Sahana were born, I felt an overwhelming urge to share the rituals of Diwali with them, and we began what grew into a tradition. We used to both work a lot, and we had late hours. We would come home no matter what on Diwali day, light tea lights around the house, order in Indian food, and have sweets. We sometimes invited our few Indian friends over as well. Some years, if there was time and it wasn't too late at night, we went to the temple in Ashland so the children could see how people observed Diwali in the Hindu religious way. The extended family grew, and to my delight, my oldest niece Tara and her husband Chirag began hosting an annual Diwali party to which they invited the children's friends and their friends. Many states have now made Diwali a holiday, which is, you need that, right? If you're going to be enjoying yourself and relaxing, you need a holiday. But I felt I came full circle in the fall of 2018 when both our kids, our niece, and our son's then girlfriend and now wife were all studying in Boston. We had a Diwali party at our home with 40 young adults in very distinct age groups. The young women borrowed my Diwali clothes, very loose for them, and put on bindis. We sang bhajans, we ate, we drank, we laughed, we danced, played cards. We celebrated the essence of Diwali, which is food, fellowship, and community. And this Diwali, I hope for you all that you walk in the light, not in the darkness, and may good prevail in our hearts and in the world. Thank you, Reverend May. Thank you, Yu, for all you do to make our world a kind, gentle, and loving place. And I'll hand over to my husband, Bhaskar.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Reverend May, for giving us the opportunity to share, what? Move back? Okay. To share a bit about Diwali. So my wife, Geeta, my name is Bhaskar Chakravorty. I come along with Geeta. And Geeta's pretty much said what can be said in a short description of Diwali, which in many ways unites an entire subcontinent, regardless of which part of the subcontinent you're from. So what I thought I'd do is just give you a bit of a different perspective on Diwali. So how many of you, I know this is a musically advanced community here, how many of you are familiar with the logo of the Rolling Stones? Yeah, familiar. The people familiar.
John raising his hand way up in the back.
Do you know where the logo comes from? Where does it come from? Now, most people think it's Mick Jagger's lips. Actually, it comes from the goddess Kali. The goddess Kali is an avatar of the goddess Durga, who is, it's a long story, but she destroyed and killed a demon, and then she frowned in the process, and out of her brow, of the furrowed brow, came the goddess Kali, who is a different manifestation of Durga. And Kali is a ferocious goddess, and her ferocity is directed against evil. So Kali is celebrated in the part of the world that my family comes from on Diwali, or right around Diwali. So my family's celebration of Diwali was actually quite different. It was a worship to the goddess Kali, but not really a serious worship. It was just, we would go and to a community gathering where Kali was there. And Kali, essentially, she is out to go after evil people. And her husband, Shiva, decides that enough is enough, and he wants to calm things down because there's too much war in the world. And he lies down in front of her to stop her from moving forward. And Kali, by mistake, she steps on Shiva. And because she steps on Shiva, she is just embarrassed and she sticks her tongue out. At least that's one explanation as to why she is standing there with 4 arms or more and her tongue hanging out. There are other explanations as well, which will take a long time. So I just wanted to give you an insight into a very different view on Diwali, which is celebrated in a very different way in a particular part of India, which is quite different from where Geeta's family comes from, or many of our friends' families come from. What is common is when we go home after the worship of Kali, we all light lamps. And when I was growing up, we also used to light extremely dangerous fireworks. And I still remember after the holiday of Diwali, we would come back to school, and at least a third of our class used to have their hands in bandages. And we used to, every year, the bar would keep going up in terms of the ferocity of the fireworks.
We went to a boys' school.
Yeah.
Should be noted.
So the last level I reached was the hydrogen bomb. But enough of that. Just coming back to the core of Diwali is ultimately the victory of good over evil, which is a very good thing. And the basic reason why we celebrate Diwali across India is the return of Ram back to his kingdom after he has vanquished supposedly an evil king who had kidnapped his wife. Again, a very long story. We will not go into that. So I just wanted to conclude this short observation on Diwali with a few things. One is it's celebrated in many different ways across India. And because the core message about the victory of good over evil is universal. And I just simply ask that we celebrate it, pretty much everywhere, regardless of, which part of the world one comes from, where one lives, or what, you believe in. I think we all believe in, good should win over evil. So that's the good news. The not so good news, I feel, is, and this is true in India, where we come from, and the United States, which has been home and is home for us, is we all believe that good should win over evil. It's just that I think half of our country, and when I say our country, we literally have 2 countries, India and the United States, half of them don't quite know which one is the good and which one is the evil. And on that somewhat of a sober and somber note, I thank you for giving us the time.
Thank you so much. And we are now going to sing a song that celebrates Diwali, and it's the insert in your order of service. You can look at it, but really what we're going to do is listen to the choir, because the choir this morning practiced with Geeta to learn both the music and the pronunciation. So engage, enjoy, and follow the choir. And Geeta.
Get close.
Oh my God. I have a very hoarse voice. We were at a dance party last night.
Oh, nice, nice. All right. We'll give you a few riffs here. Ready?
Raja Ram Patita Pavana Sita
Good morning. That was lovely. Thank you. This morning's reading is The Ritual Effect, subtitled From Habit to Ritual. Harness the surprising power of everyday actions. It's by Michael Norton, who's a researcher in the science of human behavior who teaches at Harvard Business School. Many of the rituals that people report are legacy rituals from cultural, familial, or religious traditions. These practices reach through time and space to connect the individual with the collective. By performing these acts, one can be fused with all who sang these same songs, all held hands in these same ways, lit these same candles, and walked in this exact same pattern of steps. Legacy rituals have a powerful hold on our imagination because so many of them, whether it's dancing in the streets of Delhi on Diwali, celebrating the Day of the Dead with an offering of incense and sweet cakes and cookies, or eating matzah in the ceremonial Passover Seder. These create social cohesion through a dense layering of sensory experiences, scaffolded by special clothes, lights, music, dance, and food. But what we see time and time again is that people weren't always practicing inviolable, time-worn legacy rituals. They were crafting their own, in full or at least in part. I refer to these idiosyncratic and novel practices as do-it-yourself rituals. There were intimate relationship rituals that bound couples together. When we kiss, we do it in threes. Not sure why this started, but after 22 years, it feels really weird if it's not in threes. Mourning rituals that were as unique as they were poignant. I washed a loved one's car once a week, just as they had done when they were alive. Rituals to close out the day. When showering after work, I imagine the entire hospital turning into liquid and circling down the drain. Contrary to prevailing assumptions, rituals aren't just or even primarily sets of instructions or scripts we passively receive. They are practices that we adapt and create, picking and choosing from the vast repertoire of resources that make us our cultural toolkits.
If you've not already, I encourage you to read the music notes, which give a beautiful explanation of the song they just sang. And later in the service, the ritual of remembrance, I'm going to be asking you to write down the names of ancestors who have passed on. And one of my ancestors was my grandmother Sibley, who brought us, I grew up going to a Methodist camp meeting in Michigan. And so that camp meeting connection is particularly close to my heart today. Thank you. So what does it mean to be religious? This is the question we're wrestling with throughout the year. And to many, being religious is often linked to beliefs, what you believe about God, life after death, the origins of the universe. However, what a person does also expresses their sense of religious identity. A person who does this is recognized as a Christian. A woman wearing a hijab is seen as a Muslim, or a person with a kippah is understood to be Jewish. What we wear, which holidays we celebrate, what foods we do or do not eat, often reflect our religious tradition and affiliation. Being religious is something we do, not just what we believe. Indeed, many religious traditions are full of instructions and expectations for how one acts, not just ethically with good over evil, but also in all manner of rituals. Some rituals are personal and daily, like offering a prayer or a blessing before a meal, and some rituals are communal, like gathering together on a Sunday morning like we are, or in special services to mourn a death. Learning to perform ritual is an important element of becoming a part of a religious community. Even here, I try to remember, and Lindsay did today, to direct folks to the order of service for the printed words of the affirmation, thinking about those who might be new and not have a clue. What are we doing, and where do I find it? But why do we do these rituals? Because if we're honest, rituals don't always make a lot of sense on a practical level. Why light a flame in a chalice? Why move your hand this way or that? Why wear this color or that color when a person dies? Because the color does vary within cultures. In the book, The Ritual Effect, Michael Norton tries to understand where rituals come from and what place they have in our lives. To explain, he discusses an experiment on birds who were trained to peck a bar to receive food. They learned a predictable response. Peck a bar, get some food. Peck a bar, get some food. But then the researchers created an unpredictable environment. peck a bar, no food. Peck a bar, food. Peck a bar, food. Inconsistent. They didn't know what would happen. The birds began to develop elaborate pecking rituals. 3 bobs to the right, a dip, and then a peck. Because one time when they did that, it worked. And so even though there was inconsistency in the outcome, they started to develop a consistent ritual in their pecking. In an unpredictable environment, creating rituals of behavior that sometimes resulted in the desired outcome created a sense of meaningful behavior. Norton points to similar examples in human behavior, from athletes with elaborate pre-game rituals. And are there any tennis players, fans in here? Does an example of Rafael Nadal, which if you've ever seen Nadal, he has a very distinctive ritual of picking his underwear out of his butt. And that there are all kinds, that doesn't improve his tennis game, does it really? And yet, people do these things. Also, musicians. He tells a story of a musician who had a particular, it was like a rubber duck or something, and he wouldn't bring it and set it on the piano, but he would put it on the very edge of the stage so that he knew it was there. And if he didn't have the duck, he would be very anxious about his performance. And so, like I said, these don't always make sense, and yet the rituals matter. We may not, because in the face of uncertainty, rituals help to hold our emotions. We may not know the outcome of the game or the performance, but if we're wearing our lucky hat, carrying our special object, or remember to do the thing we always do, then we feel better, more prepared. The rituals matter by becoming meaningful, emotional containers. Norton admits at the start of the book that he was initially a skeptic about rituals. Such actions seem unnecessary, right? But Norton's conversion to the importance of rituals came when he became a parent. Within months, he noticed how elaborate bedtime rituals of particular books, stuffed animals, and sequences of calming actions became established in nightly efforts to get his child to sleep. To his surprise, following these nighttime rituals calmed not only his child, but also himself. In so many ways, we face all kinds of uncertainty in our lives. This is the very nature of humanity. So no wonder our religious traditions and cultures have developed all manner of rituals to help us navigate our days, our weeks, our years, the seasons of our lives. Rather than becoming lost in a sea of undifferentiated time, rituals help to add some meaningful structure and punctuation to our living. They become emotional containers for the depths of our living that extend beyond the everyday motions of our lives. In lifting up the role of ritual, Norton distinguishes between legacy rituals from cultural, familial, or religious traditions and DIY or do-it-yourself rituals that we create ourselves. There is no great formula for creating a ritual. Rather, we can simply make them up. Indeed, the more effort we put into creating something, a particular ritual, the more meaningful it becomes to us. Do you already, are you thinking of your own DIY rituals for yourself or with friends or family members? I chuckle because I've already learned where many of you sit from week to week. And if you sat in a different place, would it feel weird? Right? So part of the ritual of coming is sitting in a particular place. When we move through the spaces and moments of our lives with ritual, we make the actions mean more than the raw human behaviors of moving, eating, speaking, singing, or more. By adding ritual to how we move through our days, we imbue our lives with emotion, connection, and meaning. In addressing ritual today, I wanted to acknowledge both our individual capacities for ritual and to celebrate the diversity of cultures, religions, and ritual practices within our congregation and in our city and our planet. I am so grateful to Gita and Bhaskar for sharing earlier their practices of Diwali. As a religious tradition, Unitarian Universalism seeks to recognize the many different ways humans find spiritual insight and grounding. The celebration of diverse rituals is true both for legacy rituals as well as for the particular ways each of us find ways to live meaningfully. Learning to respect difference and to love one another across difference is central to our own Unitarian Universalist way of being religious. There is a lot of uncertainty in life. There are a lot of hard moments of loss, as well as joyous times of possibility and new beginnings. There is also the wonder of waking up to a new day or settling in to rest at the end of one. Throughout the rhythms of our days, weeks, and seasons, it is good to return to familiar actions that hold our emotions. We blow out candles on a birthday cake to help us mark our own aging or that of a beloved. We don dark clothing to sit among friends and strangers to mourn the death of someone we knew. We have our own idiosyncratic ways of preparing to vote or to learn the outcome of the election. We have our own DIY rituals for all manner of actions. Ritual is part of being human because we are meaning-making creatures, self-aware of our place in an ever-changing, enormous world of uncertainty. We need ways to help us carry the emotions of joy and fear and so much more. I am glad you are here today in this ritual of being with others in a shared search for meaning across our differences. And I hope each and all of us will grow in our use of ritual individually and together. In times such as these of political division, climate change, and so much more, we need rituals to creatively contain the fullness of life in meaningful and helpful ways. May it be so. As we prepare to move into our ritual of remembering, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit to sing together hymn 1051 in our teal hymnal. It is a wonderful song that speaks to our ancestors and all that we learn and receive from them. So, as Lindsay mentioned in the opening words, this is a time of the year where multiple traditions mark this sort of thinness of time between the present and those who have died and gone before us. This is true in the Celtic and the pagan celebrations of Samhain, also in the celebration of Day of the Dead, which I decided it was really important for my sermon prep to watch the Disney movie Coco. Because, so I have a background as a religious studies scholar, and on Facebook, some of my colleagues were asking, how do you introduce Day of the Dead? And quite seriously, a number of them said, watch Coco. They show Coco to their students. So if you want to learn more about Day of the Dead, watch Coco. And then also within the Christian tradition, and particularly Catholicism, there's also All Saints' Day on November 1st. I will say that one of the things I did learn from Coco is that Day of the Dead is a celebration in the sense of remembering those who have died with joy. And it's as if you could have a dinner party with your ancestors all over again. And so it is in that spirit, I'm going to invite us to DIY our own ritual of remembering those who have died. At the end of all of the pews, there are little paper cards. I don't have one to show. Maybe Lindsay, you can show one up. And also some golf pencils. So if you can help with each other to everybody get at least one card and share the pencils. And if you don't have one, Bill Greger has some extras. Just raise your hand and Bill can bring them to you. And these are just ordinary. Can I have one? Just Lindsay, can you give me one? Oh, thanks. Okay. In terms of the spirit of creating rituals, these are about as ordinary of an object as you can get. These are paper, die-cut fall shapes of leaves and pumpkins bought at Michael's, probably from China. Part of the American marketplace, everyday life, right? And we're going to take something ordinary and add meaning to it. By taking those emotions of your memories and your love and writing the names, a name or names of those that you want to remember. And I chose to use the fall leaves and some pumpkins because in this time and place here in New England, it's gorgeous outside. And we're also far enough into fall where we also have bare trees, and the colors are sort of at their darker color end. And yet it's still beautiful. And so just by simply living in this part of the world, we experience this ritual where we watch life die with these leaves, and yet still experience beauty. And I thought, what a beautiful metaphor for our relationships with those who have died. That even though they are gone, there is still beauty and love that exists between us. And so I ask you to write those names down, and I'm going to ask Lindsay to move our beautifully crafted, thank you, Lindsay, ritual. We're making words up here. Easel with into the center aisle. And Gigi read my mind to play some music. And I'm going to invite you all to come forward as you're ready to add your, probably closer to me so people can get by. Okay. She did such a good job. It all stayed together. There are paper clips attached to a string, which you probably can't see from your seat. But as you come forward, you simply can attach your paper with your name to the paper clips. So I invite you now to come forward. so tall. For those of you who struggled with the paperclip, I want to say, remember, the more effort you put in, the more meaningful it is. I want to close this ritual with a blessing. To each phrase that I say, I invite you to respond with, we remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the rebirth and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. A ritual legacy that is part of our congregation is to include a moment of offering in each service. This is practical, and that we appreciate your financial gifts. But I love it for it also is a moment where we remember to pause and think about our gratitude for what we have and what we can give and for what we have received. Thank you for giving as you're able.
I
told you we're doing things differently today, so stay standing. And thank you for your gifts. Thank you for the rituals that you participate in when you are part of this community, including the sacred ritual of coffee hour. I once talked about ritual before, and my partner gave me a coffee pot pin as my sacred object. And today we particularly have, I remind you that we have some Diwali treats. So please stay for coffee hour. And think about what you do. And it's okay. In fact, it's pretty cool if you do some weird things that are meaningful to you, that help to deepen your sense of the gift of life and your connections to others, living or dead. Enjoy life. Let it hold you as you hold it in all of these weird and idiosyncratic ways, and also in these deep legacy rituals that we participate in here. Thank you.
Please join with me in the words to extinguish our chalice as printed in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Go from this place as a blessing of memory, a wellspring of connection, a sanctuary of composted leaves, a celebration of transformation. In fallen autumn leaves, notice the fanfare of change, the vibrancy of life and loss and memory. Find the bright, deep, dynamic colors that mark your many transitions. What beautiful colors you have to share. You are so loved. Go and love the world.